Okay, I got to take a picture of this. Unbelievable. Look how many people are here. In spite of Bill Ramby trying to mess us up again. Thanks for being here. It's a great way to start off the new year. We got some great news I want to share with you. This week we sent a check for $80,000 to start a church in Ecuador. So thank you very much. Way to get after it. In fact, we have 27,000 extra. And so we're still trying to figure out how to book tickets to Hawaii. But I don't know how to do that. But actually, we're trying to figure out what to do with it. So if you want to give some more, we really got some very cool ideas that we really wanted to share with you. Cannot quite be able to do that yet. So if people are still asking if they can share in the Christmas offering towards our Ecuador project, yes, you can. And then we're going to kind of cut that off here this week and let you know kind of the totals after this weekend. But thank you so much for that. Last weekend, Linda and I were on vacation, and it was the second time in 18 years that I have been here that we stayed in town for our vacation, and we went to another church. And here in town, a great church, and so it's kind of like, okay. Now, I'm probably not the best worshiper. I'm fairly critical at things, looking, checking, oh, I wouldn't do that, oh, that's dumb, oh, that's awesome, and because it's just my business that I do is I look around and see, oh, I like that, or I'd change that, and so I'm looking around, and I'm also easily distracted, and so there was this guy and his wife, I hope, that was right to the front of me, and with his left hand, he was worshiping God, and with his right hand, he had it in her back pocket. And I don't know, but I kept watching that. I was like, and there was that moment where I'm thinking, I do think the right hand knows what the left hand is doing. I don't know what's going on here. And so, if you're going to raise your hand, raise them both. It's just how you should worship here, right? All right. That was super fun. Yeah, it was good. It was nice to be able to. We had a great Christmas season here, and lots of people, and largest crowds we've ever had at Christmas Eve, and thank you for inviting your friends and be a part of that. And then on Christmas Day, our son Justin got married, and it was just awesome for us to be able to do that. Yeah, it was very cool. We've been thinking about, him and Nikki have been thinking about this for a while, and Justin was like, I don't want a big wedding, and she didn't really, know what, and so they decided at the kind of last minute to get married on Christmas Day down on the boat in Brownville. My folks live in Brownville, and there's a riverboat in there that our family tends to occupy at Christmas time. Nobody else is on the boat usually, and so Justin said, I want to get married on the boat. And we said, okay, and we worked it out, and so it was fast and furious. It was just incredibly beautiful, and Nikki was spectacular, and it was so cool. And so it was a fun. In fact, all our family was there except for one cousin, and so it worked out really well. And some of Linda's side of the family was able to come down. Christmas Day is a tough day to pull that off, especially when you say, like on Christmas Eve, hey, we're going to have a wedding. So it was super fun. So it was really neat. Very happy. So we're starting off a new message series called God is Greater Than, and there are several instances in the Bible where it actually says that God is greater than. Now, I know we say, well, God is greater than my problems, God is greater than my struggles, God is greater than my, right, all that stuff, my worries. Absolutely. But there are some specifics that are mentioned in the Bible where we see the writers say God is greater than. So for the next 4 weekends, we're going to take a look at this topic. And I hope that you will make the journey with us as we take a look at the greatness of our God. We'll start it off from 1 John 3:20. Even if we feel guilty, God is what? Greater than our feelings. The New International Version says God is greater than our hearts. I like this translation that God is greater than our feelings, because oftentimes our feelings, that's kind of how we do life, right? If we feel good, we'll feel bad. And you probably would agree with me that we're pretty dramatic most of the time. It's highs and lows. It's massive good, massive bad. And if you don't believe me, get on Facebook. It's all about, my life's terrible, right? And there's really very little middle ground on that. And so I want us to know that life, that God is greater than our drama. Isn't that good news? God is greater than that. So he says here, and he knows everything. We live in an age where knowledge is fast and furious. We can constantly are getting lots of information all the time. And it's a kind of a recent phenomenon of how much information is given to us. We know a lot. Except when we are taking a test. You're just like, you think you're like ready for that? I had a dream recently that I was taking a test in college, and I knew nothing. It was as if I had never even gone to the class. Anybody ever have a dream like that where he's like, what am I doing here? I went every day. I have dreams like, where's my locker? What's my combination? What school am I in? Right? But John Sano told me about a dream he had that I was in last night where I was playing the banjo. And I was really good. Which, by the way, has always been a dream of mine. But I'm getting these weird dreams like, what subject are we to? What? So I have these insecurity issues, all that kind of stuff. But we're going to take a look at today this idea that God knows everything. Think about the enormous stuff we know. 3,200 years before Jesus was on the planet, 3,200 years before he started here, the wheel was invented. 150 years before Jesus, paper was invented. Now, we're going to jump way ahead. 1,200 years after he died, eyeglasses were invented. Then the printing press, just a few hundred years later. 1,500 years after Jesus died, the toilet was invented. It took us a long time to figure that out. But aren't you glad that we did? Absolutely. 1800, the clothes dryer was invented. 1827, the camera. 1876, the telephone. 1900, the car. Then we got the vacuum cleaner. 1921, the insulin was invented. 1927, TV. TV was invented. Then the very next year, the best thing ever was invented. Sliced bread. Right? Don't you say that? 1948, the Frisbee. 1960, the year of my birth, disposable diapers were given. 1980, Post-it notes. 1984, some of you know what that year meant, right? Macintosh. Apple was invented. 2005, YouTube came out so that we can watch stuff that cats do. Think about all the stuff we know. We know lots of things. 1 Corinthians 3:19 says, for the wisdom of this world is foolishness to God. Because he looks down and goes, I know you guys think you're something, right? You got this cool thing. Oh, woohoo. Right? Not a big deal to me. Not a big deal. As scriptures say, he traps the wise in the snare of their own cleverness. Now, this can be a little scary, that God knows everything. That he knows my past. He knows, right? He knows those things. It kind of messes us up and freaks us out because we've been told and led to believe that what happens in Vegas stays there, right? Or what happens in my mind can stay there. He can't get in there. Or what happens in this church should stay here. But once I leave, because once God stays here, we're fine out there, right? We're fine. It kind of messes us up, though, to think that God knows everything. Psalm 139, 1-6 says, O Lord, you have examined my heart and know everything about me. You know when I sit down, when I stand up. You know my thoughts even when I'm far away. You see me when I travel, when I rest at home. You know everything I do. You know what I'm going to say, even before I say it. You go before me and follow me. You place your hand, a blessing on my head. Now this doesn't sound so good. Right? This doesn't sound like a blessing. This sounds more like a curse. This sounds more like, really? You know everything, sitting down, standing up, thinking about. Now look what the writer says. Such knowledge is too wonderful for me. The thought that God knows everything about me is too wonderful? Because we have this concept of God being this big parent in the sky or some sort of policeman in the sky that when he knows what's going on and he sees and he knows if I've been sleeping and knows when I'm awake. Oh, that's that other guy. But he's going to stick me on a list or he's going to zap me, right? He's like this big policeman with a taser. I saw that. Now, I've been thinking about getting one of those things for my dog. You know, the little collar that when he gets a little too far out, you know, or he's barking, and I thought, I should have had one of those for my kids. You know, you ever want one of those for like, I think it would be awesome if we could have those at our disposal, that if you're within the proximity of a person, it's not a big zap, but it's a little one, like, oh, right? Because like you're at a football game and the people next to you are intoxicated and you can just and they're loud and they threw up and you're like, and they go, oh, sorry, dude, sorry. Or you're driving next to somebody who's being really stupid and they're going through too fast and right, and you just, it'd just be nice to have that, wouldn't it? It wouldn't hurt them. It's just kind of making, thank you, I was being dumb. I just think that would be a great invention. But we think that that's kind of what God is like, is he's out there looking around every time we step out of place, right? So that we go, and we have this misconception about God in our past. So we want to hide. We tend to want to hide from God. Many of you are hiding right now. You're keeping things in the dark. When we keep things in the dark from God, we oftentimes have guilt and regret. If we're living with some guilt and regret, it's probably because we're hiding some stuff. Truth is, God knows what we've done, and this is amazing. And this is why I think the psalmist can say this. He knows what I've done, and he is outrageously in love with me. Now think about that. If he knows what I have done, how can he be outrageously in love with me? There are certain things I don't want Linda to know, right? I don't want my wife to know. I wouldn't want my girlfriend. I don't want people to know. I don't want my boss to know. I think if we were to reveal some things to each other today, we'd be like, right? Because we go like, no, we've all messed up. And the fact that God knows all that stuff and that he's outrageously in love with me, even though he knows my past, is incredible to me. I don't know how that's even possible. Now, see, Satan is this enemy that constantly tries to remind us of our sin. God does not. He rubs it out. He doesn't rub it in. So God's rubbing my sin out and erasing that from me. And Tim Kelly, in his book, The Reason for God, states, you're more sinful than you've ever dared believe, but you are more loved than you ever dared hope for. He knows my past, and he still loves me. Amazing. Not only does he know my past, he knows my present stuff going on right now. God is all-knowing, and he knows what's happening to me right now. Continuing in the Psalm 139, 7 through 12, I can never escape from your spirit. I can never get away from your presence. If I go up to heaven, you are there. If I go down to the grave, you are there. If I ride the wings of the morning, if I dwell in the farthest oceans, even there your hand will guide me and your strength will support me. I could ask the darkness to hide me and the light around me to become night, but even in darkness I cannot hide from you. To you, the night shines as bright as day. Darkness and light are the same to you. No matter what circumstances that I find myself in, whether it's the highest of the highs or the lowest of the lows, God is with me. And by the way, those are usually the two times in our lives when we don't want God around. When everything's going great, I don't need him. My marriage is awesome. My financial situation's soaring. My business deals are great. My health, everything's soaring. I really don't need God. People oftentimes walk away from their faith when it's good. I don't need God now. I might pick him up later, but right now, I'm pretty cool. I've got it. And then another time that we tend to walk away from God is when it's bad, when we get clobbered with some stuff, and we hate God now because he let this stuff happen. We blame him and we hate him, and we just don't want anything to do with him because he didn't care, and he left us in this place. And so here the psalmist is saying, even when it's good and even when it's bad, he's still with us. We may choose to not see him. In fact, he even says here, I kind of at times want the darkness to hide me. I want just to be in the dark. But see, God can see just fine in the dark. There's no difference for him whether it's light out or dark out. He knows the way out. We think he doesn't care or he isn't around, but he is. We just have to ask him to light up our path. When it's dark out, we just say, help us out here. So Psalm 119, 105 says, your word is a lamp to guide my feet and a light for my path. Sometimes we just don't want God there. We're pretty comfortable with the darkness stuff. We don't mind coming to church, ever so often and turn the light on. But God stays here, right? This is God's house and he doesn't leave it. When I go out of here, there's no light. I can do whatever I want because he's not able to see me. But our character is usually defined by what we are doing when nobody else is around, even when you don't think that God's around. We are somewhat bothered by the fact that he's present with us. But he is there for us in our good times and bad times. So God not only knows my past and he loves me, he knows my present and he likes me. I think it's awesome. He likes me. He also knows my future. I'm fascinated by time travel. I think it'd be awesome if we could turn back time, if I could find a way. Come on. Stay with me. If I could turn back time. Thank you. So to travel back in time or to do some things differently that would manipulate my future would be awesome, right? And that's why Back to the Future movies were so intriguing when I was a kid. It's like, if you could go back and make sure that everything got fixed, right? If I could change some stuff and manipulate a situation, then my future would be better. Back to the Future 2 came out in 1989. And it showed several things that have come true. Flat screen TVs and Skype, cameras that were everywhere, the rise of Asian nations, video games that don't need controllers, and they predicted that the Cubs would win the World Series in 2015. This is our year. Or as we like to say, this is our century. Sometime in the century would be nice. But if we knew the future, we'd probably want to change some things. Maybe, right? If it's like, if I keep on this path, if I do this stuff, maybe I change, have a different outcome. Jeremiah 29:11 says, for I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord, they are plans for good and not disaster, to give you a future, right? A future. Now, how can he give me a future? He's already there. He's already in my future. And he knows what my future is going to look like. Taylor talked about this last week. He gives us a future and a hope. Once we reach that point, it's like if because of my past I have all these regrets and my present is all messed up or I don't have God in my life, then what is my future going to look like? So here he says, my plans for your future is enormous. Proverbs 23, 17 through 21. Don't envy sinners, but always continue to fear the Lord. You will be rewarded for this. Your hope will not be disappointed. My child, listen and be wise. Keep your heart on the right course. Do not carouse with drunkards or feast with gluttons, for they are on their way to poverty. And too much sleep clothes them in rags. Now, it's interesting that he kind of lays this stuff out here, and he says, hey, don't carouse with drunkards or feast with gluttons. Now, why does he say that? He says that because he knows the future. And he reveals a little bit about what that's going to look like if we would continue to do that. What's the future? For they are on their way to poverty. That's what the future looks like. Now, we're thinking, well, God, hey, what are you doing? How dare you? And how come? And why are you? And he says, well, I got this future and this plan, but it doesn't include some of this stuff here. But if you continue on your future plan, you're going to end up here, and I'm thinking here, and I'm going to warn you. And he doesn't tell us to not do this stuff because he wants to punish us. He wants to warn us. And just like a good parent, when you see your kids like, hey, you continue to play in the street, you're going to get hit. Well, I want to play in the street. See, that's a bad idea. Look at your brother. Just saying. Right? Because I've seen the future. This is what it's going to look like if you ignore his teachings on this. He's not doing this to punish you, like, oh, you don't want me to have fun. No, I want you to have a future. Steps that I take now. And that's why so many of us are making these resolutions, because we know, well, if I don't change some stuff, my future is going to look way different. Way different. So he knows my future, and he wants to protect me. Think about this. God knows my past, present, and future at the same time. In fact, he is in my past, in my present, and in my future at the same time. I don't know how to do that. I don't know how he does it, but he's able to do that. And the message we get from this is that we matter to him. We looked at the passage earlier in the Psalms when he says he's with us in the good times and the bad times, but then it just keeps going. Psalm 139, 13 through 18. This is how much we matter to him. You made all the delicate inner parts of my body and knit me together in my mother's womb. Thank you for making me so wonderfully complex. Your workmanship is marvelous. How well I know it. You watched me as I was formed in utter seclusion, as I was woven together in the dark of the womb. You saw me before I was born. Every day of my life was recorded in your book. Every moment was laid out before a single day had passed. How precious are your thoughts about me. Check that. How precious are your thoughts about me. Even though you knew I would do and mess up and be here, even though all of that, you still put me on the planet and provided a way for my past to be wiped out and my present to be hopeful and my future to be secured. I can't even count them. They outnumber the grains of the sand, and when I wake up, you are still with me. There will be a time when we wake up. To think about this all-knowing God knows everything about me, still loves me, still likes me, is amazing for me to fathom. And that he's willing to take my past and let it be all wiped out. It's like pushing the delete button on the computer. It's gone. It's just gone. It's wiped out. You ever had that happen? You're writing a document or you got some photos, you hit the wrong button, it's just gone. How do I get that back? I have to call Matt Smith in our office and say, can you do that? I just messed up. And Matt comes in, don't touch that button. All right. Now see, with my sin, occasionally what Satan says to me, even after I become a Christian, even after the delete button's been hit, he says, would you like to get that back? I can help you with that. See, that would be so, think about it. How stupid is that? To think, yeah, I'd like to resurrect that document or that night or that encounter or that thought. No. See, Satan wants to remind me of all that all the time. God wants to wipe it out. He wants to say, like, hey, I can get that back in your life. You want that? It was pretty fun. Okay. And regret comes rushing back in, and fear comes rushing back in, where before that had been replaced with grace and hope and joy. And that he wants to protect my future because he knows what it can be like with him lighting up my path. Think about that. If God knows what it can be like for my future, if I would let him light up my path, why wouldn't I want to do that? Because honestly, you know what your future would be like if you continue to walk down the path that you're choosing, right? This summer, Linda and I and our family, we went to a cave in the Lake of the Ozark area. I love that stuff. I think it's awesome to walk through those things. And, when they light up these formations that have been formed with water and chemicals and all that. I don't know how that happens, but it's just beautiful. And then we get back into this cave, and they say, okay, everybody, turn your lanterns off. And you literally cannot see anything. All the beauty that had been there is gone. In your face, you can't even see your hand right in front of your face. You just can't see it. It's so dark. And I'm thinking, if nobody turns a light on here, we're all going to die. We can't get out of here. We would just be groping and feeling and running into stuff, and we'd have to eventually go, I give up. I can't get out of here. I can't see a way. And so many of us kind of do life like that. We're just kind of groping and thinking and knocking and like, oh, it's dumb. And all of a sudden, it's like, this is hopeless. That's why he says, I want to give you a future and a hope. Let me turn the light on. And it doesn't even have to be a big one, right? All we need is a little one to go, I think that's where we're supposed to go. Let me go that way. And occasionally, then all of a sudden, things get brighter and brighter and brighter. And this is what it was supposed to, this is what it looks like when the light is on. So let him do that for you. 2015 starting, and we think, some of you are like, I'd love to forget about 2014. All right. Or 2013, okay, since 1960. I need to forget some of that stuff. Let him do that for you today. He knows about your past, and he's willing to forgive you. He knows about your situation right now, and it may be good, it may be bad. I don't know where you're at. But he wants to give you a future and a hope. Let's make 2015 a great year by turning the light on and letting him lead. Let's pray. God, thank you so much for being greater than my past. I am so thankful that you are greater than my past. And that you are greater than my present situation. That whether it's good or bad, and I know there's people in this room that are celebrating life, and it's so strong and so good and so filled with wonder and adventure and joy. And it's so different than it used to be. And they're walking with you, and some of us are going through some of the most dark, dangerous, treacherous moments in our lives where we feel that if I let go of your hand, I'm just going to be so lost. So we walk with you through these valleys that we just need to get through. Thank you for our future. Thank you for preparing it for us and being there already for us. And we thank you also for the amazing future that we have in heaven. Grateful for that. In Christ's name, amen.